To begin, let's consider what Stoicism teaches us about harm. The Stoics thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus believed that true harm comes not from external events but from how we respond to them. Epictetus famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But when we speak of harm between individuals, particularly between a man and a woman, we must extend this principle to consider how our actions affect others. Harm in this context is not just physical or emotional pain but the erosion of another person's dignity, autonomy, or ability to live virtuous life. So, what is the most harmful action a man can take against a woman? Is it betrayal, dishonesty, disrespect? While these are serious, Stoicism guides us to look beyond the surface. The most harmful action I propose is the denial of a woman's agency, her ability to exercise her reason, make her own choices, and live according to her own virtues. This denial can take many forms, from subtle control to overt domination, and its impact can ripple through a woman's life, undermining her sense of self and her capacity to flourish. Agency, in Stoic terms, is closely tied to our capacity for reason and self-determination. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, and thus over your happiness." For a woman, as for any individual, agency is the ability to make decisions, pursue goals, and live in alignment with her values. When a man undermines this, whether through manipulation, condescension, or force, he commits a profound harm. He disrupts her ability to live a life of virtue, which the Stoics considered the highest good. Consider a relationship where a man seeks to control a woman's choices, perhaps by dictating how she should dress, who she should associate with, or what she should believe. This control, even if cloaked in concern or love, strips her of her autonomy. It sends a message that her judgment is not to be trusted, that her reason is inferior. Over time, this can erode her confidence, her sense of self-worth, and her ability to act as a rational, virtuous being. But the harm goes deeper. The Stoics teach that we are all interconnected, part of a greater whole. When a man denies a woman's agency, he not only harms her but also himself. He acts against the Stoic principle of justice, which calls for treating others with fairness and respect. By diminishing her, he diminishes his own capacity for virtue, trapping himself in a cycle of ignorance and vice. Let's explore how this denial of agency manifests in real life. It can appear in overt ways, such as physical or emotional abuse, where a man uses force or intimidation to suppress a woman's will. These actions are unequivocally harmful, violating the Stoic principle of doing no harm to others. But Stoicism also challenges us to consider subtler forms of harm, those that may go unnoticed or even be socially accepted. Take, for example, the act of dismissing a woman's thoughts or opinions. When a man interrupts her, speaks over her, or assumes he knows better, he subtly undermines her agency. He implies that her voice is less valuable, her reasoning less sound. Over time, this can lead her to doubt herself, to question her own capacity for rational thought. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But when a woman's reality is shaped by constant dismissal, her imagination may begin to echo that doubt, creating a prison of self-limitation. Another form of harm is objectification, reducing a woman to her appearance or her role in a man's life, rather than recognizing her as a rational, autonomous individual. This can happen in relationships, workplaces, or even casual interactions. When a man views a woman as a means to an end, whether for pleasure, status, or convenience, he denies her the dignity of being a complete person. This violates the Stoic principle of treating others as ends in themselves, not as tools for our own desires. Manipulation is another insidious form of harm. A man might use guilt, flattery, or subtle pressure to bend a woman's will to his own. This is particularly damaging because it masquerades as care or affection, making it harder for her to recognize the harm being done. The Stoics warn against such deception, urging us to act with honesty and integrity in all our dealings. So, how do we avoid causing this harm? Stoicism offers a clear path: cultivate virtue in ourselves and extend it to others. The four cardinal virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance provide a roadmap for treating women and all people with the respect they deserve. Wisdom calls us to understand the impact of our actions. Before speaking or acting, a man must ask himself, Am I honoring this woman's agency? Am I treating her as a rational being capable of her own choices? Wisdom requires humility, the recognition that we do not always know what is best for another person. Courage is the strength to stand against harmful cultural norms or personal impulses. It takes courage to challenge a friend who disrespects a woman, to admit when we've been wrong, or to step back and let a woman make her own decisions, even if we disagree. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Courage is the resolve to live by this principle. Justice demands that we treat others as equals, recognizing their inherent worth. This means listening to a woman's perspective, valuing her contributions, and supporting her right to make her own choices. Justice is not passive, it requires active effort to create an environment where a woman can thrive as her authentic self. Temperance is the practice of self-control, restraining our desires or impulses that might lead us to harm others. A man who seeks to dominate or manipulate a woman must exercise temperance, checking his ego and aligning his actions with reason. As Seneca advised, "He who is brave is free." By mastering himself, a man frees himself from the temptation to control others. When a man chooses to honor a woman's agency, he sets in motion a ripple effect of positive change. By treating her with respect, he encourages her to trust her own judgment, to pursue her goals, and to live a life of virtue. This, in turn, strengthens their relationship, whether romantic, professional, or platonic, creating a foundation of mutual trust and understanding. But the impact extends beyond the individual. The Stoics believe that we are all part of a larger community, bound by our shared humanity. When a man acts with virtue toward a woman, he models behavior that others can emulate. He contributes to a culture where women are valued as equals, where their voices are heard, and where their agency is celebrated. This aligns with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with others, working toward the common good. Consider a workplace where a man actively listens to his female colleagues, amplifying their ideas rather than dismissing them. Or a relationship where a man encourages his partner to pursue her dreams, even when they differ from his own. These actions, rooted in Stoic principles, create an environment where everyone can flourish. They reflect the Stoic belief that our highest purpose is to live well with others, contributing to a just and virtuous society. Now, let's turn the mirror on ourselves. Stoicism is not just a philosophy of ideals, it's a practice of self-examination. Each of us as men must ask, have I ever denied a woman's agency, even unintentionally? Have I dismissed her ideas, imposed my will, or failed to recognize her as an equal? These are uncomfortable questions, but the Stoics teach us that growth comes from facing discomfort head-on. Epictetus reminds us, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If we assume we are free of fault, we close ourselves off to growth. Instead, we must approach these questions with humility, seeking to understand where we may have fallen short and how we can do better. This is not about guilt or shame. Stoicism is not about dwelling on the past, but about taking responsibility for the present and future. One practical step is to practice active listening. When a woman speaks, give her your full attention. Resist the urge to interrupt or offer solutions unless asked. Another step is to examine your motives. Are you acting out of a desire to control, or are you genuinely supporting her autonomy? These small, intentional actions can transform how we interact with the women in our lives, aligning our behavior with Stoic virtue. As we draw to a close, let's return to our original question. What is the most harmful action a man can take against a woman? Through the lens of Stoic wisdom, we've seen that it is the denial of her agency, her right to reason, choose, and live as a virtuous being. This harm, whether overt or subtle, undermines her dignity and disrupts the harmony of our shared humanity. But the Stoics also offer hope. By cultivating wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we can avoid this harm and instead uplift the women around us. We can listen, respect, and support their autonomy, creating relationships and communities grounded in mutual respect. This is not a one-time act, but a lifelong practice, a commitment to living virtuously in every interaction. Let us take inspiration from Marcus Aurelius, who wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Let us be men who honor the agency of women, who act with virtue, and who contribute to a world where everyone can live according to their highest potential. This is the Stoic way, a path of reason, respect, and responsibility.